Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a fascinating and, let's be honest, somewhat mysterious book called the Kybalion. It's a relatively short book, but its ideas have resonated with countless people interested in personal growth, spirituality, and understanding the nature of reality itself. Published in 1908 by the enigmatic Three Initiates, whose true identities remain unknown, the Kybalion claims to distill the essence of ancient Hermetic wisdom into 7 universal principles. These principles, it suggests, are the keys to unlocking the secrets of the universe and achieving self-mastery. But what is this so-called Hermetic wisdom? Where does the Kybalion fit into this tradition? And perhaps most importantly, is it a genuine transmission of ancient knowledge or a more modern interpretation that takes liberties with the source material? That's what we'll be exploring in this video. We'll unpack the book's core ideas, examine its influence on modern thought, and consider its place within the broader historical context of Hermetic philosophy. We'll ask the tough questions. Is the Kybalion a reliable guide to unlocking reality, or a fascinating but ultimately flawed interpretation with only loose ties to genuine ancient wisdom? Get ready for a deep dive. To truly understand the Kybalion, we first need to understand Hermeticism itself. Hermeticism is a complex and multifaceted philosophical and religious tradition that traces its origins back to the writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. Now, who was Hermes Trismegistus? Well, he's a legendary figure from Hellenistic Egypt, a fusion, if you will, of the Greek god Hermes, known for his wisdom and communication skills, and the Egyptian god Thoth, the god of knowledge, writing, and magic. In essence, Hermes Trismegistus became a symbol of ancient wisdom, a source of profound spiritual and intellectual insights. The Hermetic texts attributed to him cover a remarkably wide range of topics. We're talking about alchemy, the ancient art of transformation, not just of metals, but also of the self; astrology, the study of the influence of celestial bodies on human affairs; magic, the art of manipulating reality through will and intention; and of course, philosophy, the pursuit of wisdom and understanding, the fundamental nature of existence. A central theme that runs throughout these Hermetic texts is the interconnectedness of all things, the idea that everything in the universe is ultimately linked, that there's a fundamental unity underlying all apparent diversity. They also emphasize the power of the mind to shape reality, and the importance of the individual's pursuit of spiritual knowledge and self-transformation. Now here's a crucial point to remember. Hermeticism existed for thousands of years before the publication of the Kybalion in 1908. And over those millennia, it took on many different forms, evolving and adapting to various cultural and intellectual contexts. This means there's no single monolithic Hermeticism. There are different schools of thought, different interpretations, and different emphases within the tradition. So as we delve into the Kybalion, it's important to keep this broader historical context in mind, to understand that it's just one particular interpretation of Hermetic ideas, not necessarily the definitive or only one. Okay, with that background in mind, let's finally get into the core of the Kybalion, the 7 Hermetic principles. These are the fundamental laws, according to the 3 Initiates, that govern the universe and all that exists within it. The first, and arguably the most foundational of these principles, is the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Now, what does that actually mean? In essence, this principle posits that the entire universe, everything we see, everything we experience, everything that exists, is fundamentally a mental projection, a thought within the mind of the all. What is the all? The Kybalion describes it as the ultimate, unknowable source of all existence, the infinite, eternal, and unchanging reality from which everything else emanates. Think of it this way. Imagine a vast ocean. The all is like that ocean, immense, boundless, and fundamentally unchanging. The waves on the surface of the ocean are like the individual things that exist in the universe: planets, stars, people, everything. Each wave is unique, each wave is temporary, but all waves are ultimately made of the same substance, the ocean. According to the principle of mentalism, everything in the universe, including ourselves, is ultimately a thought, an idea, within the mind of the all. We are, in a sense, mental constructs within a larger mental reality. The Kybalion argues that understanding this principle is crucial because it gives us insight into the nature of reality itself. If the universe is mental, then our own minds have a far greater power than we might realize. Our thoughts are not just passive reflections of reality. They are active forces that can shape and influence it. Think of it like this. Your thoughts create your reality. If the universe is mental, then controlling your thoughts is the key to controlling everything. By learning to master our own minds, by consciously choosing our thoughts and beliefs, we can, according to the Kybalion, become masters of our own destiny. This leads to the idea that self-mastery is, in fact, mind mastery. By shaping our own minds, we can affect the universe around us. The second principle is the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. This is one of the most famous and widely quoted of the Hermetic principles, and it speaks to the fundamental unity and interconnectedness of the universe. What does it mean? In essence, this principle suggests that there is a correspondence, a mirroring, between different planes of existence: the physical plane, the world of matter; the mental plane, the world of thoughts and emotions; and the spiritual plane, the realm of pure consciousness and divine energy. What happens on one level affects all other levels, and vice versa. It's like a giant interconnected web, where every part is linked to every other part. Think of it like fractals in nature, those repeating patterns that appear at different scales. A snowflake, for example, exhibits the same basic six-sided symmetry whether you're looking at the entire snowflake or a tiny detail under a microscope. The principle of correspondence suggests that the universe itself operates in a similar way, with patterns and principles that are reflected at different levels of existence. For example, the patterns of the planets in the solar system might reflect the patterns of energy flow within the human body. The structure of a cell might mirror the structure of a galaxy. By understanding these correspondences, by recognizing the patterns that repeat across different planes, we can gain deeper insights into the nature of reality. We can learn to read the signs and symbols that are all around us, and to understand the hidden connections that link seemingly disparate things. Furthermore, we can see ourselves as interconnected parts of the great whole, and that we aren't separated from each other. This principle also has practical implications for our lives. By understanding the principle of correspondence, we can use our knowledge of one plane to gain insights into another. For instance, working on one's personal relationships can improve one's mental state. The third principle, and one that's increasingly relevant in our scientific age, is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This principle asserts that everything in the universe is in a constant state of motion, vibrating at different frequencies. From the smallest subatomic particle to the largest galaxy, everything is constantly moving, constantly oscillating, constantly vibrating. There is no such thing as absolute stillness. Even what appears to be solid and stable is actually just vibrating at a very low frequency. The higher the vibration, according to the Kybalion, the closer something is to spirit, to the pure, unmanifested source of all existence. Matter, being the densest and most concrete form of reality, vibrates at a relatively low frequency. Thought, being more subtle and refined, vibrates at a higher frequency. And pure spirit, being the most ethereal and unmanifested reality, vibrates at the highest frequency of all. Therefore, matter, thought, and spirit are not separate, but simply represent different points on a spectrum of vibration. One can also think of it as consciousness vibrates at a higher frequency than the other. This principle has important implications for understanding our own potential for self-transformation. According to the Kybalion, by consciously raising our vibrations, by cultivating positive thoughts and emotions, by engaging in practices that elevate our consciousness, we can transcend lower states of being and move closer to spirit. This is where practices like meditation, mindfulness, and positive affirmations come in. They are tools for consciously shifting our vibrational frequency. for aligning ourselves with higher states of awareness and being. If we can master our thoughts, we can change the world around us. The fourth principle of the Kybalion is the principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. That's quite a mouthful, so let's break it down. At its core, this principle asserts that seemingly opposite things are actually just two extremes of the same thing. They are not fundamentally different entities, but simply different points on a spectrum, different degrees of the same underlying energy or quality. Consider hot and cold. Are they truly separate things, or are they simply different degrees of temperature? When you increase the intensity, you have hot, decrease, you have cold. The principle of polarity suggests the latter. They're both part of the same continuum. Similarly, think about light and dark, good and evil, love and hate. The Kybalion argues that these are not fundamentally different entities, but simply different degrees of the same underlying quality. Love can turn to hate if a person is hurt enough. Light turns to dark as the sun sets. This principle has profound implications for our understanding of reality. It suggests that even the most seemingly opposite things are ultimately interconnected, that there is a hidden unity underlying all apparent duality. It also gives us the power to transform our experiences. By understanding that opposites are just different degrees of the same thing, we can learn to transmute negative experiences into positive ones. How? By focusing on the higher end of the spectrum, by consciously choosing to cultivate the qualities that we desire. For example, when we experience fear, we can consciously choose to cultivate courage. When we feel sadness, we can consciously choose to cultivate joy. The secret, according to the Kybalion, lies in recognizing that these qualities are not fundamentally different from each other. They are simply different degrees of the same underlying energy, and we have the power to shift our focus and cultivate the qualities that we want to experience. This concept is useful in order to gain greater power over ourselves. The fifth principle is the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. This principle points to the cyclical nature of all things. Everything in the universe operates in cycles and waves and rhythms. There are ebbs and flows, ups and downs, periods of expansion and periods of contraction. From the changing of the seasons to the cycles of the moon, from the rise and fall of civilizations to the fluctuations of the stock market, everything is subject to the principle of rhythm. The Kybalion uses the metaphor of a pendulum to illustrate this principle. Just as a pendulum swings back and forth, so too does everything in the universe oscillate between opposite extremes. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left, meaning that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, that every high is followed by a low, and vice versa. Understanding this principle can help us to navigate the ups and downs of life with greater equanimity. By recognizing that everything is cyclical, we can avoid getting too attached to either extreme. When we're experiencing periods of joy and abundance, we can appreciate them without becoming arrogant or complacent, knowing that these periods will eventually give way to periods of challenge and difficulty. And when we're experiencing periods of difficulty and hardship, we can take comfort in the knowledge that these periods will eventually pass, and that better times are on the horizon. The key, according to the Kybalion, is to learn to ride the waves of life, to flow with the natural rhythms of the universe, rather than trying to resist them. The trick here is not to push forward when it's time to go back. The sixth principle is the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. This principle is essentially a more nuanced version of the law of karma. It asserts that every action, every thought, every intention has a corresponding effect. There are no random events, no accidents, no coincidences. Everything happens according to law, whether we are aware of it or not. What we often perceive as chance or luck is simply the result of laws that we do not yet understand. Just because we don't see the connection between cause and effect doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. There are many planes of causation, meaning that a cause can have effects on multiple levels, both physical and mental. You can smile at a friend to be polite, but it can alter that person's mood for days to come. Understanding this principle empowers us to take responsibility for our lives. By recognizing that our actions have consequences, we can consciously choose to create the effects that we desire. We can plant the seeds of success, happiness, and fulfillment by cultivating positive thoughts, intentions, and behaviors. It also means that we reap what we sow. So we must ensure we have the right seeds in our life garden. The seventh and final principle of the Kybalion is the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. Now, before anyone gets the wrong idea, it's important to clarify that this principle does not necessarily refer to physical sex. Instead, it refers to two fundamental energies or forces that are present in everyone and everything: the masculine principle and the feminine principle. The masculine principle is characterized by qualities such as activity, assertion, logic, reason, and outward expression. The feminine principle is characterized by qualities such as receptivity, intuition, creativity, nurturing, and inward reflection. And both of these energies are essential for creation and manifestation. The masculine principle provides the spark, the impulse, the drive to take action. The feminine principle provides the fertile ground, the receptive space, the ability to nurture and sustain the creation. In order to be truly balanced and harmonious, we need to cultivate both the masculine and feminine qualities within ourselves. Too much masculine energy can lead to aggression, dominance, and a lack of empathy. Too much feminine energy can lead to passivity, indecisiveness, and a lack of self-assertion. The key is to find the right balance, to integrate both the masculine and feminine principles into our lives. The Kybalion has without a doubt had a significant influence on modern spirituality, New Age thought, and self-help movements. Its accessible and relatively concise presentation of complex Hermetic ideas has made them palatable and appealing to a wide audience. It's a book that has inspired countless people to explore the mysteries of the universe and to embark on a path of self-discovery and personal transformation. However, it's also important to acknowledge that the book is not without its critics. Some scholars and historians of esotericism argue that the Kybalion is a relatively modern interpretation of Hermeticism with only loose ties to the traditional sources. While it does draw upon some authentic Hermetic concepts, it also introduces new ideas and interpretations that are not found in the original texts. As we have discussed before, the historical concept of gender is quite different than the one within the Kybalion. This raises important questions about the book's authenticity as a direct and accurate representation of ancient Hermetic wisdom. Its lack of clear attribution, the anonymity of the three initiates, makes it difficult to trace the sources of its ideas and to verify its claims. Whether the Kybalion is a perfectly accurate reflection of ancient wisdom or a more modern synthesis, its principles can still be incredibly valuable tools for self-understanding, personal growth, and navigating the challenges of life. So, how can we actually apply these principles in our day-to-day lives? Let's break it down. Mentalism. Become more mindful of your thoughts and consciously choose to focus on positive, empowering beliefs. Practice gratitude, cultivate optimism, and challenge negative self-talk. Correspondence. Look for patterns in your life and try to understand the connections between different areas. For example, if you're experiencing difficulties in your relationships, could it be related to your own self-esteem or your ability to communicate effectively? Vibration. Engage in practices that raise your energy and improve your mood. Exercise. Spend time in nature. Listen to uplifting music. Meditate, or connect with people who inspire you. Polarity. When you're faced with a challenging situation, reframe it by finding the positive aspects, the opportunities for growth, or the lessons that it offers. Remember, Every challenge also presents an opportunity. Rhythm. Accept that life has its ups and downs, and learn to flow with the natural cycles. Don't get too discouraged during difficult times, and don't get too attached to good times. The important thing is to maintain balance and perspective. Cause and effect. Take full responsibility for your actions and consciously create the results you desire. Set clear intentions, make conscious choices, and align your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors with your goals. Gender. Cultivate balance between your masculine and feminine qualities. Embrace both logic and intuition, action and receptivity, assertiveness and empathy. Strive to be a well-rounded, integrated human being. It's crucial to approach the Kybalion, and indeed any spiritual or philosophical text, with a critical and discerning mind. Don't blindly accept everything you read, regardless of how appealing it may sound. Be skeptical, be curious, and do your own research. Explore different perspectives, read commentaries from scholars and historians of esotericism, and compare the Kybalion's ideas with those found in other Hermetic texts and traditions.